Hey guys, so I recorded this video yesterday because I was feeling very off and my heart was just not functioning correctly. Since I recorded this video, I was where I'm at Featherstail at the moment, but a doctor was brought to Featherstail to give me intravenous steroids, and this is normally against what you should do with a bacterial infection, but I had tremendous heart pain, and it was because my heart was inflamed. They worked for about 2 hours and then it returned. And then last night I couldn't breathe at all. And well, not at all because I was still alive, but hardly at all. My blood oxygen levels were dangerously low. And my staff came with a couple of the Maasai security and carried me to the car and took me to the local hospital. And they put me on oxygen and it wasn't working. I was incoherent by the time I got to the hospital as well. I didn't really know what was going on. And my heart pain just kept increasing and increasing. And thankfully my doctor from Germany, we caught him on the phone at like 1 or 2 in the morning on a WhatsApp video, and the drugs he gave me, because he anticipated this could be a problem, I took with me to the hospital, and we convinced them to give me another IV cortisone, like anti-inflammatory steroid, not just cortisone. And this started bringing down the inflammation in my heart and my blood oxygen levels, which were at the danger point. So everything was shutting down in my body. I felt like I was dying. I literally felt that way to the degree that I felt the need to say goodbyes to people that I love. The anti-inflammatory steroids worked, and then I was ended up at Tanzania Hospital. I was laid in a corridor of a ward with many dear friends here and staff, etc. Next to people who were dying, and you know the duty of care there is not great. So tomorrow I'm getting a heart echo to see what's going on with the inflammation in my heart. But I'm feeling much better now than I was yesterday, that the inflammation's gone down. But obviously this is pretty intense for everybody around me and for me as well. And I want to be open and honest with you all in case anything happens. But after I recorded this video is when I took seriously ill and wound up admitted to hospital. They had a helicopter on standby. The helicopters don't fly at night in East Africa, only in the day. So as soon as sunrise at 6 in the morning, there was a helicopter on standby to take me to Nairobi if my heart didn't stabilize, but thankfully it did. And at one point, for those of you who know about your heart, my heart didn't come under 100 beats per minute, which for me is crazy because I'm normally 55. But for a couple of hours, it didn't drop below 130. So it was a very intense situation. So I made this video, I guess, because I could feel that something was going horribly wrong. And I just thought I'd put this at the beginning to say, indeed, I did take a bit of a turn for the worse and wound up in hospital. I'm back home now. I've got a home oxygen tank coming tomorrow to help me out. And I'm in good contact with my doctor, and I'm now trying to work out how to get this next treatment in Germany because it's expensive and it's quite an intense one. It's like similar to dialysis, but it seems that I am my body has many chronic problems now with everything that's going on, so we need to do something to support my blood to allow it to get rid of some of this extra bacteria without killing it inside me, because my body's just not strong enough to deal with the inflammation. But anyway, I made this video yesterday and then all of that happened to me a couple hours after I made it. So anyway, love you all, and not a nice topic, but one that needs to be and should be spoken about, as last night shows. Okay. Hey guys, Tricky video topic that I'm going to talk about, and an emotional one for me as well, and a personal one as well, but such is the way God has put my life, that it's out in the public eye, not for the sake of myself but for the sake of the children. So let me give you all a little update on my health and what happened to me in Germany, which you don't know about. So, a few weeks ago, before we made the decision that I would come back to Tanzania, I was given after my treatments that you saw, insulin potentiation therapy, I was given a type of antibiotic that breaks down biofilms for bacteria that have hidden. And the result of taking that medication was that I started to have severe inflammation and I couldn't breathe properly. Then I started getting a lot of pain in my heart and stabbing pains, and then shooting pains down my left arm. So I was taken to the doctor who has been looking after me, and they put me on intravenous cortisone steroids for 2 days to reduce the inflammation in my heart, because my heart had swollen up. And I think most people know what stabbing pains in the heart and shooting pains in the left arm mean. So this worked out for me, but I'm now struggling with myocarditis and post-orthostatic tachycardia, which means my heart rate's not regulating well when I stand up and sit down, etc. And it means that without exertion, sometimes my heart rate is getting up into exercise rates. You know, was a long distance runner. My heart rate used to rest at 60 at the highest. Now if I lay down and get really still, I can bring it down to 70 or the high 60s, but I need to lay perfectly still and meditate. And once I start moving around, even getting dressed, taking a shower, driving the car, or talking to you now, my heart rate is going up, and now it's sitting at 88, but it has been up to 121 in the last hour, and all I've done is get dressed. That's it. I had a shower and got dressed, and my heart rate went up to 121 beats per minute. It's getting higher than that. It's getting up to 140 sometimes, which creates a great deal of anxiety, and I feel the pain even now while I'm talking to you in my heart region, like a dull stabbing pain. And this is because the bacteria they're in my heart. So I have Lyme carditis, and we don't know what other damage there is, to be honest. I'm going to go, it's a bit of a drive, but I think I'm going to go and have an EKG done here in Tanzania, just to double check everything, and an ultrasound and stuff. But my heart is not working properly, let's put it that way. And my mind is really good, and somehow my energy feels a little better than it was at the beginning of the year, but now I've just got this heart pain. I tested positive for Babesia in England, did my long water fast and tested negative for Babesia in Germany. but were not convinced that the test was accurate. Because sometimes when you're testing for the antigens of Babesia, my English test was very low, which actually, instead of meaning you've only got a few Babesia, means you've got chronic Babesia, and the low antigens means your body is just tired from trying to fight it. I have, on top of that, of course, the problem with my pancreas, so digestion's an issue. That's why I'm only eating raw fruits now. My kidneys were not great as well. But the specialist has today, I'm in good contact with him from Germany, decided to switch me onto a double attack on Babesia and on the bacteria in my heart. But before I do that, I now have to give myself another, well, not myself, I need to find someone, which I'm searching to do now, a high dose of intravenous cortisone, which is against the rules with bacterial infections because it shuts down your immune system and the bacteria get a chance to multiply. But my heart is swollen, so something needs to go in there to reduce that inflammation. Chronic Babesia, which I've never said to you all, according to the UK statistics, if it were to be called chronic Babesia, which I think being bedridden as I was all that time, it was, the mortality rate in England is 43% for chronic Babesia. And so that makes me, on top of the fact that I've got pain in my heart, and that and the work we do, we do dangerous things, be it from driving sketchy roads out in the bush where the car might tip over, or going up against people who murder children and the witch doctors and stuff, has set my mind thinking about death and the fragility of life, and the fact that it's part of it. As I always say, it's a thing we must accept. You can't have life without it. Life would... perhaps the love for your family would be much less intense if you lived 1,000,000 years, and thus the gift of death creates the intensity of love and the vibrance of life in a way for us humans, and perhaps other life, I don't know. But it just made me think, what if I died? And what about this place? What if I died? And I think my message would be that everyone who hears my voice on YouTube, I would say it's, without being a bit blunt about it, but I would say then it's your responsibility. If not all of you, because some of you have your own responsibilities, but it's humanity's responsibility. These children are our children. They are brothers and sisters and sons and daughters of all of us. And I mean, the first line is that my staff are here. They do, a wonderful job at the moment. But if I died, then they can't fundraise. They can't make YouTube videos, and my wife would try, but my wife's not me. So Fritzi's a strong woman, but she wouldn't be able. I don't think she might, but I doubt she could take on as much as what I have without sounding sexist or anything. Dio. That was one of my children who's worried about me. Brought me a big plate of tomatoes to eat, because they know I'm not well today, because I'm very short of breath. If anything happened to me, this place would need some of you to keep it alive. And I know certain people out there who I know personally or who I've spoken with online, etc. I know that they would probably come here. I've got a good feeling that they would. And I've got UK trustees who would fight to keep things going for the sake of the kids, because there's no need for anyone to suffer if anything happened. But life is fragile, guys, and I'm not saying I'm dying, I'm just saying I've got heart pain every day, and my heart rate is way higher than what it should be. It's in the 90s here while I'm sitting quite relaxed talking to you. That's just much higher than normal for me, and I know when I stand up it will be up in the hundreds again. And I just wanted to say, these kids, they need someone to see them as their own children, and I would hope that all of you, that I think many of you do see them in that way. That's why you share and do what you can to help. But if anything happened to me, I pass the responsibility to all of you guys who hear me, to spread the word and to tell everyone about what goes on here, and why it would be in trouble if I wasn't here. And I guess that's kind of why I'm making this video. So there's more treatment options for me as well. There is a type of dialysis which can be done privately in Germany, where they take your blood out and filter it, because that way when you kill the bacteria, the toxins won't create the dangerous inflammation that they are. And this might take enough out of my system to allow my body to get rid of the toxicity that it's gone through this year with all these parasites and stuff dying in me and whatnot, for me to then start on the heavy meds again. But I can't go into another long water fast. I know I can feel my body. These bacteria are draining me of electrolytes and stuff, so I'd have to do it with supportive therapies. So I'm later in the year, yes, but now I don't feel it would be a wise choice for me to go into a long water fast again right now. Otherwise I would. And like I said, Dio, let me finish the coffee. Oh dear. You know I love you, yeah? Thank you. That's Auntie. Aye. Nice to be loved, yeah. It's probably a plate of cut tomatoes, a bowl of bananas and avocados. So I'm loved and well cared for by the women and children here at the moment, but I don't like that the children are seeing me sick, because, for instance, the young lady who just brought me this has already watched her father die, and now she calls me her second father, as she says, her new father. And I don't like them to see me sick, but I've got no choice at the moment for them to see it, because I am. And they can see that I'm short of breath when I'm talking to them and stuff. But it's up and down. Some days are good, some are bad, but today's pretty bad. So there is another treatment, which is involving taking my blood out and putting through a dialysis machine. But for now, we can't afford it. But there's people in the world I know who are wealthy, and I might end up asking them if they can give me a loan so I can pay it back out of the Patreon or something like this. Because one treatment's you need 4 treatments to make it work. It's about €10,000 in total. which is pretty expensive by any measure. But if it gets me back on my feet properly, then I couldn't care less. You know, I think it's well worth it. So yeah, life is fragile, guys, and you just don't know how long you're going to express it in this meat vehicle of ours that we all have. And sometimes you push hard and wear yourself out, but you know, it's like having a kerosene lamp, you know, like a little oil lamp that they have here. You put the flame on high, it gives off more light, but it burns out quicker. I think sometimes that's the same in life a little bit. You know, if you put your foot on the gas and put the flame on high and put out a bit of extra light, I think then you get tired quicker. You know. So. And let me just finally say, on the topic, while I'm probably making you all feel a bit glum, those of you who were Patreons, which we haven't shared, but I asked Fritzi if I could, and she agreed that I could. You changed my life in ways you can't imagine 6 weeks ago. My son was born, of course, and without it, we would have had to give birth here in East Africa, without the Patreon to fly back. Now, of course, the facilities are better in Germany. It's personal, but as I say, Fritzi agreed that it was okay to share, for us to give our thanks. And Fritzi got a condition called pregnancy intoxication, which has a proper name. I can't remember, HA something, and it's the number one cause of death in pregnancy in the West. And she was sick for a week, and the doctors dismissed it as indigestion. She had pain up here. And then it turned out her liver was failing because of the pregnancy intoxication. And finally, head maternity doctor who had seen it the week before, thankfully, so it was fresh in her mind, did some tests and told Fritzi, you have pregnancy intoxication. So they induced labour with drugs, and when they induced the labour, Azlans' heart rate slowed down, so they had to do an emergency C-section. And thankfully they're both okay. But they all said, you know, if you'd been in East Africa, both of them would have died. So it doesn't really bear thinking about if we had done so in East Africa instead of in Germany, but thankfully we were able to go to Germany, so she could give birth healthily. Dio?
Wanyama, she said that he called.
I'll call her now, okay?
Okay.
So, my wife is calling people because I'm ignoring that because I'm making a video, So our Patreon saved my wife and son's life. So thank you for that. Thank you for everything, for providing for this lot, making it possible for me to get treatment. Grateful. Very grateful. It's very strange to be grateful to so many people you've never met, but I am, and I have a genuine love for you all. So, thank you. I better answer this because my wife. Bye, guys.